Question I'd like to ask is, in exactly what context is the coming of the promised Messiah mentioned in the Quran?
Hadhrat Mirza Tahir Ahmad, the promised Messiah, has spoken of many verses in relation to his advent, which clearly speak of that future advent. Particularly, he brought to the focus of our attention the one verse of Surah Jummah, right in the beginning. In Surah Jummah, I'll read the first three verses, and then you'll understand. With reference to that, I'm going to build my answer. It says, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. هو الذي بعث في الأميين رسولا منهم يتلو عليهم آياته ويزكيهم ويعلمهم الكتاب والحكمة وإن كانوا من قبل لفي ضلال مبين وآخرين منهم لما يلحقوا بهم وهو العزيز الحكيم ذلك فضل الله يؤتيه من يشاء والله ذو الفضل العظيم. The first verse which I have recited is هو الذي بعث في الأميين رسولا. It is Allah, the same Allah who is mentioned, who raised the Holy Prophet Muhammad Rasulullah from among the illiterate people of Arabia or the illiterate people of the world. Either way it can be translated. Unlettered people. While he was one of them. But what a transformation. Now the same person has been turned into a teacher of the whole world. What is the instrument which brought about this revolution? This instrument is being mentioned now after this. It says, يَتْلُو عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتِهِ وَيُزَكِّيهِمْ وَيُعَلِّمُهُمُ الْكِتَابَ وَالْحِكْمَةَ. He has started reciting the verses of Allah which are revealed to him. And that is the big change which has occurred. And then when he recites the verses, وَيُزَكِّيهِمْ, with the blessing of that contact with Allah, that communion with Allah, he has acquired the power of purification. He receives messages from Allah, passes them on to the people, and purifies them. This is the second claim made. The third is, he teaches them the law, that is the divine law revealed to him. And the fourth claim is that he also explains the underlying wisdom in each injunction of the law. يُعَلِّمُهُمُ الْكِتَابَ is the teaching of law. يُعَلِّمُهُمُ الْحِكْمَةِ means the underlying wisdom. Now with that, the verse comes to end, and in the end, the word is kept by this expression, وَإِن كَانُوا مِن قَبْلُ لَفِي ضُلَالٍ مُبِينٍ. While the fact is that before the advent of this prophet, all the people were in manifest errors. He came to rectify all the errors. Now the statement is completed. Suddenly, in the second verse, a turn is taken. And this is which I draw your attention to. This is the main part of the verse to which Messie Promis drew our attention. It says, وَآخَرِينَ مِنْهُمْ لَمَّا يَلْحَقُوا بِهِمْ وَهُوَ الْعَزِيزُ الْحَكِيمُ. He raised the same prophet also among a people, different people, آخَرِينَ مِنْهُمْ لَمَّا يَلْحَقُوا بِهِمْ, who have not even met these earlier people. But so far they have not met. But later on, they will be brought together. آخَرِينَ مِنْهُمْ لَمَّا يَلْحَقُوا بِهِمْ وَهُوَ الْعَزِيزُ الْحَكِيمُ, and God is well capable. I prefer the warmth, heat, rather than the noise. Please. So, the Holy Quran says that He was he would also be raised, akharina minhum, among a people who are not yet born. But they will be counted as if they had met the earlier people, they would be counted among the same as trained by Hadhrat Muhammad Rasulullah himself. Zalik Wahwal Azizul Hakim. This is a very strange thing to declare, to claim, but God is all powerful, and when He does something, He does with dignity. And He also is all wise. So what He has decided to do, He will be able to do it, but not haphazardly, with a system, with a wisdom behind it. Then it says, ذَلِكَ فَضْلُ اللَّهِ يُؤْتِيهِ مَن يَشَاءُ. This second advent of Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah, which is mentioned, is going to be a sign of Allah's blessing, Fadlullah. And Allah knows where to bestow His blessing. Nobody can dictate terms to Allah, that these are fit people and that are not, and so on and so forth. He is the owner, He is the master. Whichever people He chooses for bestowing His blessing, He can do that. That was a warning that the next time the representation of Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah will not be from the same people of Arabia from whom He rose Himself in the original manifestation of Islam. Because ذَلِكَ فَضْلُ اللَّهِ يُؤْتِيهِ مَن يَشَاءُ. It's a very clear warning that you have no right to ask God to create another representative of Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah from the Arabs themselves. Allah is the master, He chooses whenever He so does to manifest Himself wherever He likes. So now, this is my interpretation so far. This is the interpretation which was taught to us by Messie Promis, but has it any support from the verdict of Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself? This is the most vital question raised here. If we can support this understanding of the verse with a very clear verdict of Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as reported in the most authentic book of traditions, then there shouldn't be any hesitation on the part of Muslims to accept this. And now I'm turning to that. Now this is where Masih Maud and his coming, and the Mahdi and his coming and Advent are all mentioned in this verse. A very definite, clear message that in future a people who have not met the earlier people would be blessed by the re-advent of Muhammad Rasulullah, and his re-advent would bring the latter people and the earlier people together. This is the blessing of Allah to whomever He bestows. It is His choice. Now when this verse was revealed, Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was sitting in company. And when he recited these verses, people were naturally amazed, because the message seemed to be so strange, as if Muhammad Rasulullah would come again, himself, in person. And all the beginning of Islam would be repeated once again, all over. So someone among them asked this question. He thought this is of course the accepted meaning, that he would come again. So instead of inquiring whether you would come again or not, he inquired among whom would it happen? Who would be the blessed people who would witness your re-advent? That was the spirit of the question. And the questioner asked, Man haulai ya Rasulullah? Ya Rasulullah, O Prophet of Allah, who would be those people, who were mentioned, among whom there would be the re-advent? Now imagine that the answer was regarding the nature and identification of the people among whom Muhammad Rasulullah would come. The answer is different, which means you have misunderstood the message. It is not the people to whom I would be sent again which are important. The important question is, why should I come again? Should I repeat my visit in person or in representation? And when I have come and the book has been perfected, why is there any need for any divine reformer to reappear? These are the valid questions. Now this is born out of the answer of Hadhrat Muhammad Rasulullah, and it resolves all these questions plus something else. You know, after hesitation for a while, when the question was repeated, he turned to Salman Farsi, a companion of Hadhrat Muhammad Rasulullah, who was from Persia, who was not Arab, and the only one among the company who was not an Arab. Remember this is very significant. He put his hand on the shoulder of Salman Farsi and said, "Law kana al-imanu inda thuraya lanalahu rajulun min haulai." Even if faith deserted the earth and ascended to Pleiades, to the constellation of certain stars, which are called Pleiades, in Arabic they are called Suraya. So even if faith altogether deserted the earth and ascended to Pleiades, from among these people, there would be that man who would bring the faith back from the stars down to the earth. Very clear message that these verses are speaking of a messenger of Allah reappearing, but not in person. Because Muhammad Rasulullah could be from the people to whom Salman Farsi belonged. Salman Farsi belonged to a people of Persia. Muhammad Rasulullah belonged to the people of Arabia. So how could he come from among them? It was a clear message that this verse will be fulfilled in representation, not in my personal reappearance. Someone, a non-Arab, belonging to these people, would come in the latter days. The question as to why, is not the book perfect? Of course it was perfect. Are you not the last messenger till the end of the time to sway authority and to hold authority? Of course, he was the last messenger on earth to sway divine authority over all others, and his word was to be the last word in every decision making. Then why there is a need for any other person? This is the big question which had to be resolved. And in this short answer, he also resolved this question without raising it. He says, "Law kana al-imanu inda thuraya," which means if the real, genuine faith deserted the earth and ascended to Pleiades, this could happen in the presence of the Holy Quran, this could happen in the presence of my traditions, this could happen despite the fact that Islam is perfected, yet faith can desert the hearts of the people if they become distorted. And this is, he said, what would happen in the end. The book would be there, the books of traditions would be there, and all the reported conduct, which is called Sunnah, of Hadhrat Muhammad Rasulullah would also be well known to the people of Islam. Yet they would become spiritually dead. That is the reason why, when the book being there fails to revive the people, there has to be a divine reformer to perform this object. And throughout the history of religion, this is what always happens. Torah was there when Jesus Christ came. It was still live as a, it was still a current authority which was valid and which had not been as yet written off by Allah. Because the Holy Quran repeatedly refers to the Bible and the people of the time of Jesus Christ and also at the time of Muhammad Rasulullah, raising the question, why don't you take your guidance from the Bible? Why don't you act upon the Bible? Why are you leading a life of hypocrisy? You claim that you belong to Bible and you are not acting upon it. So that is what I mean to say the Bible was yet a valid currency, the Old Testament I mean. Yet the people at the time of Jesus Christ had gone all astray. So much so that according to the Quran, their hearts had become likened unto stones. What was needed to revive them was not another book, but a perfect exemplar. The one who would have communion with Allah, who would have spiritual contact with Allah, who would have that special quality to revive people from the dead, spiritually dead I mean. This exactly is the attitude of Hadhrat Muhammad Rasulullah regarding to the future of Islam in answer to the question which was raised about this verse which I have quoted. The prophecy is in the Quran. Explanation of the prophecy is by Hadhrat Muhammad Rasulullah. The explanation is found in the most authentic book of all the traditions, that is Bukhari Sharif. What better or stronger evidence would you require to find that Hadhrat Messie Promis's advent or the Imam Mahdi's advent, or if they don't accept him as that, at least they must agree, all the other Muslims, that the advent of a future promised reformer is mentioned in this verse of the Holy Quran. See? Now the question of who it would be is also resolved in such a beautiful way. As I told you earlier, all the rest in the company were Arabs. So if an Arab was to be chosen by God for representation of Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah in the future days, then there were no dearth of Arab shoulders there. But the only shoulder Muhammad Rasulullah chose to put his hand on was a non-Arab shoulder. Some Shiites particularly object to this by pointing out, although this is a very strong hadith, which is also accepted by Shia books, but they have at least one objection against this. They say, all right, if this is true, then why do we find mentioned in hadith that the Imam Mahdi would be from the progeny of Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah and from the children of Fatima? And as such, he would be Ahle Bayt. So how would you resolve this issue? Now this is a question which is very valid and it has to be answered. Don't you agree? Okay. Now the word or the term Ahle Bayt is a controversial term. Most Sunnis believe that Ahle Bayt means not only the blood relations or the direct progeny through blood of Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah, but also, or perhaps preferably, all the people to whom he addressed himself, who became his spiritual progeny, who accepted him with such sincerity and with such totality that they should be counted as Ahle Bayt. So there are spiritual Ahle Bayts and the literal Ahle Bayts, and the fight goes on between the two as to what is meant by Ahle Bayt. In this context, fortunately for us, the issue is decided by Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah himself. No controversy is left thereafter. You see, once during the time of the Battle of the Ditch, which is called the English name of Jang-e-Ahzab is Battle of the Ditch, the Battle of Ahzab. During that period, the question that Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah himself required the people to stand in their family orders. Everyone who belonged to a certain family is to stand in line with that family. Salman Farsi has no relative. So out of courtesy, he could have been called to join his family or somebody else's family. But that is not all that was done by Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah. he beckoned him to come and stand in line with his own direct progeny. And the words he used were, Salmanu minna, Ahl al-Bayt. It's not just an expression of courtesy. He said, Salman is ours. He is Ahl Bayt. So the issue of Ahl Bayt is resolved by Hadhrat Muhammad Rasulullah himself in relation to the only person whom he chose to represent as as belonging to the people from among whom the Mahdi would be raised. So all it is well connected, isn't it? So it's not just a wishful thinking on our part. We have very strong, positive evidence from the Quran and the Sunnah that when we declare that the Holy Quran mentions the advent of Masih Maud or Imam Mahdi, it is not imaginary, this is real. Right? Thank you.